to load your alphabet into, we're going to use Bridge. So you can put your memory card in the back of the computer, and then you can click on this little Get Photos from Camera, and it will retrieve your images. So actually, if you stick it in the back, it's going to show up here anyway. It's going to be one of your, on your computer as one of the options for that memory card. So then you can bring them in, and you need to upload them off the card onto the computer or to an external hard drive. So once you get them loaded onto your external or onto this computer, it's a good idea once you choose and get rid of all of the ones that you don't want. So you can go through and pick which ones you want. So if, let's say I want this one, then that's good. I can star rate them. Here we go. So if I want to label this first one and you want to pick it, so you can go to label and you could say, okay, this is a 5-star one. Okay. And then it's going to say 5 stars. So that means the one you've chosen. Or you can go into label and you could say, make it red. Okay. So that's the one you've chosen, and go through all of your letters until you've got them all picked, the ones that you want. Okay. And then because we're in Essentials, we can reorganize this. So if I want this to be, let's say my A was here and my W is, because it won't be all organized for you. But then now what you can do is, so put your A here, and you can reorganize all this so it's easy to, so this is my M, so there. So put them all in their correct order. So then you'll have your 26 letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the way to Z, right? And then you can batch rename them. So we can see how mine are all A through Z. So we can select all these, and I can batch. I'm going to go up to Tools, Batch Rename, and then you can leave this. We're going to rename in the same folder. And then we could do sequence letter. Okay, so from the choice of the new file names, I could do a text, but you can just choose a sequence letter. And then this time I'll use lowercase because it's all in uppercase at the moment. So I'll put lowercase, and I'll just hit now rename. And there you go. Boom, 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 boom. All my letters have been A through Z, and it doesn't move them around. It keeps them in the order that you have it here. So now you have A through Z. Now half the battle's finished. So these are JPEGs, but we can still work in Camera Raw. So I'm going to take these images into Camera Raw so that we can edit them. And we've explored Camera Raw, and that's the reason I'm having you do this on your asynchronous day through Camera Raw, so that you have access to, we know how to access Camera Raw through Bridge. So I'm going to click on the little opening Camera Raw here, and you'll get the film strip view, so you can see all of my letters down below, and this is my A here. Now, I showed you a bunch of those presets that you can use, and if you click on the presets here, we uploaded a few. Now, I'm going to use my favorite, but I would prefer if you used your own, or use ones that you like. You don't have to pick the one that I choose or the ones that I gave you, but I'm going to use my Jason's favorites for this set of images. So now that I've chosen Jason's favorite, I just have to work on this one image, and then I can apply all of these settings to all of them. The only thing I might not want to apply it is the crop. So I'm going to work on this A. That's the way I want it. So I'm going to go back out of this. I'm going to go to, I'm going to go down to where it says optics, and I'm going to make sure that these two are checked. So remove chromatic aberrations and use profile corrections, okay? So this, if I twirl this down, it knows that I took this with my iPhone, and it was an older phone that I had, so, and it's all listed here. So you can always check those two boxes first, okay? And then I'm gonna crop this. So I'm gonna go up here to my cropping tool, and I'm gonna choose, I want these to be square. It's easiest when we're putting them into a contact sheet for the end assignment. So you're going to go here to 1 by 1. Okay, and it's going to give me that nice square. Then I can align this A exactly how I want it, right? If I want to make this a little smaller, so I center that A a little bit better, I could do something like that. Then there's my A, okay? So A complete. Now, because each of your letters isn't going to be exactly in the same spot, you might want to go through. I can see this B is already cropped, C has already been cropped to square, but this D is not. So I'll grab my crop tool, I'll set it to 1:1, and boom, I can center it where I want it to be, and that one's done. Okay, do my E, same thing. Now, you could apply this as a general setting, but then you're not going to be able to come in here and line it all up so that you get the proper. This is my F. No, I don't. This is not my original F, but that's okay. We're going to. What I can do is if I want to flip this, I can flip it here. So it's like so, and then I can rotate it like so, right? And then I want to make this an F, so I'm going to remove this here, but I'll do it in Photoshop after. So then I'll grab my crop tool and I'll make sure that it's set to 1:1. And that's going to be my F, so it's going to work out. Okay. And then this is my G, crop tool, 1:1, square. I can make this a little, zoom it in a little bit more so I'm filling the frame with my G. So maybe I'll come down like so, right? There's my G. And go to my H, it's done. My I is good. So my J needs to be cropped. So I'm going to go here 1:1. And then I'm going to zoom right in, because keeping the ratio of the 1:1, you can go in and zoom it in as much as you want because it's going to keep it the same size, right? Because I can double click on that and there's my J. So I don't have to worry about making the image too larger than the other one. All I need to do is use the crop tool and it'll stay square, right? So I'll go here, grab my crop tool. I need to maybe make some changes to these two. So I'm gonna go 1:1. So I'll go through and do all of my cropping first, and then I'll apply those settings that I used on the letter A. I'll apply them to all of these. So this is my L. So maybe what I'll do is I'll crop this in like that. There we go, that's my L. And I'll play around with it so this part here really shows up. I could do that now. So I could come in here and I'll apply that same Jason's favorites, right? So I'm gonna apply that to this, and then I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna grab my masking tool, okay? So this is the masking tool, which I can click on it here. I don't need to start try on my own. I'm gonna grab a brush, and I'm just gonna so I'm gonna reduce my feather down to something reasonable, and I'm gonna reduce my brush size, and I'm just gonna mask in this L here. Okay, so like so. It's going over a little bit of the lines. I could clean that up if I wanted to, but I don't really necessarily need to all that much because it's not going to make that much of a difference here. Okay, so there we go. And now with my L, I can now take my exposure and I'm going to bring that L into view, highlights, bring those up, right? Whites, bring those up. And then I have now you can see my L, right? All right, so this is my M. I'm going to need to crop this. So I'll grab my M, make it 1:1, right? And then center it the way that I want it. So you go through each one of your letters. This is my N. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit closer to that, right? N, O. So I want that to be, and I can lock this down. So if I want it to always stay at 1:1, I'll lock this. So I'll unlock it, go 1:1, and then now locked, okay? So then when I go to my next one, why doesn't it stay locked? Let's see now, that should stay locked. There's my P, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit more. No, it's not staying locked. There's my Q. All right, so once you get them all done, I'm not gonna go through each one of them individually. I'll pause the video and finish this up. All right, so now that I have all of those, my letters cropped, then what I can do is I'll go back to the preset so I can select all of these. So I'm going to select all of these, hold down Shift, select them all, put down my Chrome and go to my Jason's favorites and click on that. And you can see it's going to apply that edit to all of these images. Okay. And if I wanted to, what I could do is say I thought maybe that orange was, or the red was a little bit too red. I could come in here for this one and I could come into my color. So I'll go back here and go into color. So color mixer, and I could take my red and maybe go towards the oranges a little bit more, or I could go into the luminance and bring down the luminance of my red, or color, and I could take the color and shift it. So if I want to shift my reds to more towards the oranges, I could do something like that. So see how you can play around with it. Okay, or the red saturation, bring it right down, go to the orange saturation, bring it down a little bit, and bring it more towards there. Okay, so maybe that's the colors that I wanted more so than this like oversaturated orange. So maybe not that much, but say like that. Then I can copy this. So I can right click and I'm going to say copy edit settings. And then I can select all of these ones down here. Hold down Shift, select all those. And then I'm going to hold down Command and select these ones. And then I can right click and I'll say paste edit settings. So now it's going to reduce that orange on each one of these to more of this color here. And as you can see, it's changed it. All right. So now that I have all those done, I'm going to hit done. I don't need to open them in Photoshop or anything. If I did, maybe this one I do, but I'm going to say done, right? And then it's going to apply all of the crop and the preset changes that I did to the exposure, okay? Then what we're going to need to do is we're going to create a contact sheet. So I'm going to select all of these A through Z, and I'm going to come up here to output, and then inside of output, I want to make sure that these are square. So we're going to choose letter, 8.5 by 11, and then we're going to choose 300 pixels per inch just in case we want to print, okay? Then in here, we're not going to make sure that you don't have include file name checked, uncheck that. And then when it comes to grids and margins, what we'll set it as is columns are 5, rows are 6, and then cell spacing, you want the 0 in horizontal, and then vertical, if you want to play around with this a little bit. I think vertical has to be a little bit of spacing because of the fact that we need these cells to be the same size. So 1.7 is going to give us 0.16 vertical spacing. So this will fall in as it may when you make the cell sizes that 1.7 inches. Okay, we'll make sure that there's no margins. If we wanted to add a margin, it's just going to make our cells smaller. Our images, cells are the images that we have. So like that, like so, you can see. And then under header, I'm not going to have any header. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to create another image to add here, which is going to have my name here. Okay, now I can move this. So let me see. If I have another image, so I'm going to go into Bridge or into Photoshop. So I'll open up Photoshop and I'm going to create a cell inside Photoshop for this project. Okay, so now that I'm inside Photoshop, oh, 1 second, we'll go out of this. We'll create a new, I'm just going to create a square for my image. So I'm going to go new file, and 600 by 600 pixels is fine. If I wanted it, it's not actually not going to make a difference for print but I'll make it 300 because we've set the other ones. Now 600 by 600 is large, but we'll fit it into our contact sheet, because just as long as it's square. Okay. I'm going to make the background black just because I want it black, but you don't need to do yours black. And I'm going to create like so. So I'm going to make 2 of these. So I'm going to duplicate this project again because I want to have one as the title and then one as my name. So I'm going to grab the text, some text, and I'm going to choose Proxima Nova, and I'm going to choose it to be bold, and I'm going to make it center just fine, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to say alphabet project. Okay, and then I'll return before the project, something like that. And I'm going to open up my, now you can see it's really large. I'm going to resize it here in a second. Just close my timeline out for a moment and take my layers and drop it in here like that. And down in my paragraph styles here that I have and my character styles is what I want here. And the spacing between my lines here, you can see it's 30 points. So I'm going to just put that to auto. Okay. Oh, I got to highlight it first. So I'll double click on it, make this auto. Okay. And then I'm going to just reduce the size here. So I can just hover over top of it and choose to resize my text. So say maybe something like that. And then I'm going to make sure that it's white, and hit OK. And check the check mark to say yes. Okay. Now I can move this layer to wherever I want it. So I'm going to put it right there, right, line it up. So magenta guides are going to show me that that's the center. Okay. And if I wanted to maybe put more spacing between these two, I could here. So, but I think I'll just leave it like that. So now I'm going to hit file and I'm going to save this one. And I'm going to export it. Export and export as. And I want it to be a JPEG. That's fine. And I'll say export. And I want to export it to that same folder that I have my alphabet project. So I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to go to photography, alphabet, and I'm going to drop it in right into here. Yes, save. Okay, and now what I'll do is I'm going to change this. Now I'm going to double click on this text here, and I'm going to go by, and then return Jason, return la chance. Okay, so now maybe I want this by and Jason on the same line, something like that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this needs to be lowercase. And maybe I want to, right, I got to double click on it. Yeah, I like that better. Something like that. Yeah, okay. So now I'll export this out. So file, export, export as, and JPEG, that's good, export, and I want it in that same folder. So I'm going to say this is by, instead of saying untitled, by Jason, and I'll hit save. Okay, now what I can do is when I go back into Bridge, all right, so now that I have them saved into this folder, I exported them from Photoshop, and you can see I can just reorder them. So I have my A through Z of my alphabet that I had done, and then I can just drag these around. So I'm going to put the alphabet project title here and by Jason LaChance box here. So now I have 28 alphabet squares or cells to put into our output. So if I go into output, and then we'll do the same thing. So I'm going to just custom here inches, and I'm going to go 8.5, 11, okay. And then the background color, I'm going to choose black for mine. Now, we're not going to be printing these, so I'm not too worried about what color that we choose, but I'm going to just do like some kind of black. I like the idea of having it black. And I'm going to leave it at 300 pixels just in case we wanted to use an inkjet printer and print it out. I'm going to not include file name, like I mentioned. And then I'm going to go to grids and guides, and I'm going to set this up. So let's input all our images first. Well, actually, we'll do this first. So I'm going to want 5 columns, 6 rows, right? And then I don't want, I'm going to try and I want to keep this all square. So if we go down to square here, 142, I think I can make them bigger. So then I'm going to take this down and then this down. I'll make this 1.7. And can I make this one? Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do, 1.7. Now I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 spaces, right? And I have 28 alphabet letters to put in there. So now that I have all that, I'm not going to use auto spacing, and I'm going to leave this margins this time because actually it makes it so that we fills the space up even better. So then I'm going to select all of these just by selecting the first one, holding down Shift, select them all, and then I'll just drag them up into this cell. Okay, so now super easy. There they are, alphabet project, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, right? And then I have this by Jason Chance. Now maybe I want to swap these. Let me see if I can move them. I think I'd have to put in 2 blank cells here in order to move this to the end one. So I could, if I wanted to, go back into Photoshop and just export out, turn this off, and export out 2 black squares, right? And put them in that same bridge folder. And then that I could fill up these 2 spaces with those ones. But I think that's fine. I'm just going to leave it like this. And now what we can do is we can save this. So we can export it as a PDF out of Bridge, okay? So if I export a PDF, and actually what I could do, and I'll name it, so I'll name it Alphabet Project, and Jason Chance. I want to put my name in that title, and I'm going to save it to my Google Drive, wherever you want to save it, and you'll save that PDF, and then you'll be able to email that PDF off to, say, a client. But in this case, you're just going to post it into the Moodle forum, okay? So I'll save this. I'm going to save it to my desktop. Save. There we go. And there we have it. So there is my PDF. Perfect. Love it. Looks great. You guys can do a black background. You can do a white background, whatever you'd like to do, or a different colored background. It's up to you. Kind of maybe make the background fit kind of your editing theme that you've kind of chosen. That black seems to work really well with mine. Okay. Good luck with that. If you have any questions, give me a shout at any time today. It's now Wednesday, I guess. And this is your asynchronous project. Have a good day.